So what if I get Jimmy to... he's not even gonna be there. Why would I ask? Hey, how the hell did you get in here? Hello, I'm talking to you. What? I'm not getting any answers to this, am I? Mystery, ambiguity, not knowing what the hell is going on. These are a lot of factors that can intrigue and hook a viewer into a story. You want to know what is happening, and you want to know at the end, not only will it be resolved, but will we get answers to what we've just experienced? And sometimes there are stories that won't give you the answers. And depending on how this is done, this can be brilliant or frustrating. And there is no story that toes this line better than 73 yards.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm scared now. What?
Wait a minute.
Stop following me, okay?
The fourth episode of Series 14, or Season 1 as they've been failing to try and push it as, 73 yards shows Ruby all by herself after the Doctor accidentally steps on and breaks a fairy circle, causing him to vanish. But Ruby is not truly alone. She's always followed by this woman, this mysterious woman that is always exactly 73 yards away from her. No matter how close Ruby tries to get to her, no matter how far away she tries to get from her, she is always exactly 73 yards. But not only this, anyone that tries to talk to the woman flees in terror and hatred, not of the woman, but of Ruby herself. So Ruby is left all alone, driven away. No, her family members and friends are driven away from her in fear. We don't know why, but Ruby remembers that the Doctor mentions a certain political figure in her future called Roger Ap William, and she believes that she can avert this so-called worst prime minister in the history of the United Kingdom. And she uses the woman to achieve this. But it doesn't end there. The woman is still with Ruby, and by the time that Ruby has grown old, that is when the woman decides to get closer, and she sends Ruby back in time to avert the entire story, to stop it from happening, to warn her younger self, to stop the Doctor from stepping on the fairy circle. So that is essentially 73 yards. On paper, I should love this episode. You know, fear of the unknown, ambiguity. We don't know what is going on. We don't know why this is happening. We don't know what it is. I should love this. I love stories like this. But the problem I have with 73 yards is that it takes all of this, the ambiguity, the mystery, and the questions left unanswered, and it pushes it too far. And the only way I can really give this thought across is by comparing it to another episode that does almost the exact same thing. In the Series 4 episode Midnight, the 10th Doctor joins a shuttle tour to visit the sapphire waterfalls of the planet Midnight, a planet that cannot sustain life on its surface because it is constantly being bombarded by lethal radiation from its sun. So as he's on this tour, the shuttle unexpectedly stops, and the doctor goes to investigate by heading to the cockpit, talking to both the driver and the mechanic. And it's while he's there, he decides, why don't we have a little sneaky peek outside, huh? Let's open that radiation shielding, pull the blinds up. Let's just have a quick look. I know it can be dangerous, long exposure, but let's just have a quick look. They do. They see the beautiful landscape that cannot be touched by hands because it's so deadly. But as the radiation shielding goes back down, one of them sees something outside. A shadow that is running towards them. As the doctor returns to his fellow passengers, knocking begins from outside the shuttle, something that should be impossible. And then the knocking begins to respond when the doctor and another of the characters, Jeffro I think it is, or Merlin, most people would know him as Merlin from the show Merlin, not to be confused with Merlin from Transformers, played by Stanley Tucci. They knock in response to the knocking, and the knocking responds back. And this is confusing people, and it is scaring people. In particular, it is terrifying one passenger in particular, Sky. And as the knocking intensifies and heads directly towards her, the shuttle rocks violently, and as it subsides, we see that Sky is just cowering in the corner. And as she turns around, it's not Sky. It seems like she has been possessed by this unknown, unseen entity that we will call the Midnight Entity. And she can't communicate with them. She only repeats what is being told to her. And again, this is confusing the passengers. They're starting to get a little bit scared because they don't know what's going on. They go to try and see how the driver and the mechanic are, and the cockpit is just gone. It's been ripped off the shuttle, killing its 2 occupants. But as they try to figure out what's going on with Sky, her speech patterns change. She now is no longer just repeating them. She's repeating them in sync, which should be impossible. She should not be able to know what they are going to say at the exact same time. But the more this progresses and they try to figure out what's going on even further, she only starts to begin repeating in sync to the doctor. And as the doctor is questioning her, trying to maybe bargain with the entity for the safety of the other passengers, suddenly Sky speaks first, and the doctor repeats her. The doctor is now possessed. Or so we are led to believe, because this is all a ruse by the entity. It has never left Sky. It is still in her, and is now playing on the fears and the paranoia that it has been building up to get the other passengers to throw the doctor out of the shuttle and onto the deadly, lethal radiation-covered surface of midnight. But one person sees through this, which is the hostess. The entity accidentally slips up, starts using phrases that the hostess knows that only the doctor has used because she's heard him use it before. So she makes the heroic sacrifice to take herself and Sky / the Midnight Entity out of the shuttle, saving everyone. And by the end of the episode, the doctor has no clue what this thing is, but he has been left harrowed by what he has just experienced. Midnight is brilliant. It is one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, and it does the mystery and the ambiguity and the fear of the unknown incredibly well. And what it also does well is that it is actually actively giving you answers to some of your questions about what is going on, what is the Midnight Entity, without actually full-on exposition, looking at you, telling you what it is. So what does the Midnight Entity want? Now, we may not know what its end goal is if it succeeded in getting away with pretending that it's passed on to the Doctor, but from what it does throughout the episode, we can tell that it's at least malicious and wants to cause harm. I mean, hell, it rips the cockpit off the shuttle, killing the driver and the mechanic, once it pretends that it's passed on to the doctor, it tries to get the other passengers to throw him outside and kill him. Like, this isn't an entity that's like curious about meeting new life forms. It wants to do harm. And it's using the fear and paranoia that it's been building up to do this. And that's another thing. Fear and paranoia. It seems to be very key to what it wants to achieve and how it goes about doing it. You know, you could see like the knocking on the shuttle, like when when it first appears. You could see it as it trying to communicate with the occupants. It responds whenever they knock back to it. But then it uses the knocking to strike fear in the most terrified person, which is Skye. Out of all of the passengers in that instance, Skye is the most terrified about what is going on. And the knocking in particular intensifies and heads directly to her. The knocking is used as a way to signify that it is heading into a certain direction. It is heading towards Skye, and it is making her more afraid. So we can tell from that fear, someone being scared, needs to be vital for it to possess someone, because it doesn't possess anyone else. No, you could say that everyone else is also equally confused or scared about what's going on. But it's the fact that Skye is the most vocal and the most telling that she is scared, that she's the one that is possessed in the end. What does the entity look like? Now, this is unimportant. We really don't need to know what the entity looks like. Like, with the only vague description we get is that it looks like a shadow. That's it. It kind of looks like a person, just a shadow, and that it has at least limbs to make it look like it's running, because it's described as running towards the shuttle. So it at least has like legs and arms. But other than that, it's not important what it looks like. I would say that if we knew what it looks like, it would ruin the mystery of it. We don't need to know. And that's what's brilliant about it. Now, the most important question of the Midnight Entity is, what is it? And this is a question that shouldn't be answered. Because I feel like if we find out what it is, it ruins that mystery. Like, I don't think we would ever be satisfied with an actual, proper answer. If After Midnight came out, if RTD just said, oh, this is what it is, I'd feel like, well, that kind of ruins the episode, because the whole point of it is the mystery of it, like, the fear of the unknown. Like, now that we know what it is, it's like, the weight of it is kind of gone. So that is one question we should never get an answer to. Now, back to Ruby being stalked by the elderly. Now, 73 Yards tries to do almost the exact same thing as this. You know, the mystery, the fear of the unknown. We don't comprehend what is happening. But the problem is that because of what is happening, it is leading to more questions that won't be answered, unlike with Midnight, where you can condense it down to the one question. What is it? No, with 73 Yards, we have the clear, what is the woman? Who is the woman? Again, you could argue, and I would agree, we really don't need to know who the woman is, or what she is. She's just there. She exists, and that makes it confusing, and that could terrify people. But then that leads to other questions like, okay, the Doctor is being punished for stepping on this fairy circle, and his punishment is that he just no longer exists. Like, not even UNIT can find the Doctor. But that leads to another question of, why is Ruby being punished? No. It seems to be a kind of guilt by association. Russell himself has said that, describing the episode is that Ruby is living a life of penitence, and that she has to do something good in order to earn forgiveness for the Doctor's lack of respect. So, okay, Ruby has to do that. She has to do something good, and the woman is following her. until she achieves this. This leads to Mad Jack.
We're going to build the wall. We have no choice. We have no choice.
So at the beginning of the episode, once they land in Wales, the Doctor mentions a Welsh-born British politician by the name of Roger Ap William that in Ruby's future becomes the worst Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And as we explore in the episode, it's mainly because the two main things being that wants to pull the UK out of NATO and has been like amassing a nuclear arsenal stockpile from Pakistan. So like almost bringing, potentially the world to like nuclear war, the threat of nuclear war. So we are told this about Roger Ap William. After the Doctor breaks the fairy circle, they find several notes on it. One of it has the words Mad Jack. Now, by the time Ruby is 40 years old, by herself, still being followed by the woman, while she is on a date, she sees in the pub, in the tavern, on TV, an interview with a politician, Roger Ap William. And he mentions that, during his youth, he was a man of many trades. He's a person of like the working class. He knows how they feel. So yeah, he's done all these trades, and because he's done so many, it has earned him the nickname Mad Jack. So Ruby, remembering what the Doctor told her about Roger Ap William, and also remembering the words Mad Jack on the fairy circle, thinks this is what she has to do. She has to stop Roger Ap William from becoming Prime Minister, or find a way to get him, if he achieves it, find a way to get him out. So she joins his campaign team, and she eventually decides, oh, this woman who keeps following me, like anyone who ever talks to her flees in terror and fear of me. So I'll use the woman to get rid of Roger Ap William. And she does. She stands 73 yards away from Roger Ap William, and he notices the woman, and he runs away in fear of hatred of Ruby, and he ends his position. He's no longer the Prime Minister or going to be the Prime Minister. He's out. The thing is, there isn't really that much of a connection between the whole Roger Ap William and Fairy Circle Mad Jack, aside from the fact that his nickname is Mad Jack. It gives the illusion that there's an actual like stronger, deeper connection. Like what I thought it was going to be is like, oh, when the Doctor stepped on the fairy circle, it released Mad Jack, this thing that, I don't know, the fairies or someone or the woman like imprisoned in the fairy circle. So now that Mad Jack is out, is going to cause mayhem somehow. Like the Doctor is punished, but removed from existence, and the woman is now leading Ruby to find a way to get rid of Mad Jack. Not outright telling her, but like pushing her in a certain direction, I guess. But the thing is, just at the end, Roger Ap William is just a guy. He's just a dude. He's a terrible person that is implied to do terrible things when he is Prime Minister, but he's not this otherworldly, like, folklore, supernatural threat. Because that's what it seems like it's suggesting, but it's not. So was there really a need for the whole Mad Jack to be, like, words on a note on the fairy circle, if we already had the Doctor telling Ruby, this guy in the future becomes your Prime Minister, and oh boy, does he stink. Like, I feel like Ruby would have just come to that conclusion of, I need to stop this guy. Like, the Doctor's not here, Unit won't help me anymore because Kate hates my guts because of the woman. So I'm gonna go stop this guy from becoming Prime Minister and making the UK a better place. I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like Ruby could have just come to that conclusion regardless of the whole Mad Jack connection. And you want to know something funny? Empire of Death trivializes what Ruby does in 73 yards. So as anyone will recall from Empire of Death, a big point of that finale is the identity of Ruby's mother. You know, Ruby, it's a character thread with Ruby. It's a very not well done story arc in the entirety of series 14 of who is Ruby's mother? Who is she? And in Empire of Death, they're in the memory TARDIS, they're still connected to the time window, and Ruby is holding a screen, and on it appears an interview with Roger Ap Williams. Now, we know that Ruby has met Roger Ap Williams because of 73 Yards, but since that was averted, it never happened, so she's never met him, but yada yada yada, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. The time window is giving her a hint. So the Doctor sees it, mentions again, like, Roger Ap Williams, the worst Prime Minister in the UK. Which I feel like, I don't know, British people, I feel like there's also some other worst ones in recent years, but I don't know, I'm an Australian, I don't keep up with your politics, so, you guys can't give me classic Who, so I'm not gonna give a shit about your politics. But he mentions that, but then he also mentions that Roger Ap Williams made it mandatory for DNA testing. Everyone is now recorded. Their DNA is now recorded on file, which means that Ruby's mother would have had to do this. So they go to 2046, they go, as they reach the Department of Health, the doctor says, I was there when Roger Ap Williams was overthrown. So that suggests that if Ruby did nothing, Roger Ap Williams would still not be Prime Minister. He would have eventually been overthrown and deposed. Wow. Really? Really? Now let's say that the Doctor wasn't giving us all the details. He says he's present there. Well, okay, maybe the Doctor was actually integral to overthrowing Roger Ap Williams. So when the fairies, the woman or the fairies or whatever, punish the Doctor by removing him from existence, oh no, the key figure that needed to help overthrow Roger Ap Williams is gone, so it's going to lead to a worse future than before. So Ruby, you're going to have to do this now. But the thing is, that's me. That's us headcanoning it. That's not what is being told or suggested in the episode. The Doctor just says that he was present, that he was there. It doesn't say that he was integral. So the whole of Ruby's journey to stop Roger Ap Williams in 73 yards served no purpose, aside from the fact that we needed to remember Roger Ap Williams in Empire of Death. But the thing is, Ruby doesn't, because it never happened. What are we doing here?
It makes no damn sense. Compels me, though.
So we come to the end of 73 yards. Ruby has stopped Roger Ap Williams, but the woman is still there. So she doesn't know what the woman wants. She thought this is what the woman wanted, but clearly not. She is still here. As the years go by, Ruby gets older, so she hasn't been able to reconcile with any of her family. They still hate her. They're still afraid of her. The Doctor never came back, so she's lying in her hospital bed, and that's when the woman gets closer and closer and closer and closer until it sends Ruby back to avert everything, to prevent it from happening in the first place. This is Ruby's reward, I guess, for doing something good, even though she did it when she was 40, not when she's old. I don't know, so that leads to questions of, why does the woman take so long to do this? How can the woman do this? Again, that one in particular, how can the woman send a person back in time? I don't think we need answers to. It's just something she can do. hey, how can the woman be exactly 73 yards away from Ruby and also say something that would cause everyone to hate her? Don't know. Alright? Don't know. So, you know, time travel in the time travel show is not out of the realm of possibilities, okay, of what we're dealing with. But yeah, why does it take her so long? Is Ruby the woman? Because we go from her POV, she's where the woman would be 73 yards away from younger Ruby. So is she the woman? Clearly not, because the woman has like longer hair and older Ruby doesn't. So they're not really the same person. So you see what I'm getting here with? It leads to a lot more questions that we're not getting answers to. And it's starting to frustrate me. So I don't know. That's what I'm left with at 73 yards. I don't know. It's frustrating because, like I said, on paper, I should love this episode. I did for like 9/10 of it until I got the end. Until I got to that end. And I'm like, what? I what? And it's not even like a good confusing what, like, whoa, what was that? Oh my god. It was like, oh my god, I have like so many questions upon questions upon questions. It's not making any sense, and it ruins the episode just looking back on it, because I know that it leads to something that gives us nothing. That's if you understand what I mean. It leads to something that gives us nothing. And yeah, like I said with Midnight, you can condense it to one question that we don't really need an answer to. With 73 yards, there's still several questions. Maybe only half of them don't need answers. But a lot of the other ones, you do. And Russell does try to write in this episode like a kind of a counter to that. It's just with Kate saying like, we don't understand the supernatural, so we try to apply our own rules to it to make it make sense. I feel like that's almost a bit of a cop-out. It's like, yeah, we would do something like that, but the problem is that the quote-unquote rules either just don't exist in the first place, or are so ambiguous that the only way you could try to get around it is headcanoning it, but that's not how the story should work. We shouldn't be having to try and headcanon it to make sense. You should be able to do it by yourself. Again, a problem I've had with Series 14 is that Russell is copying himself, but doing it worse. He is essentially copying what he did with Midnight and failing to do it proper with 73 yards. If he didn't push it too far with the ambiguity and the mystery and the fact that at the end it doesn't matter. Like, this whole episode is also supposed to be like a character development, like, focused episode on Ruby, dealing with like the themes of abandonment, because she's an orphan, so now she's also being abandoned by friends and loved ones. But at the end, it goes back, it resets to zero, so it's pointless. But I will say this: there's also one question I almost forgot, and it's a very important question. What is the woman saying? Now, this is definitely another one we should never get answers to, because I don't think any of us could imagine what someone could say that would cause not only strangers, but our own loved ones to run away in fear and hatred of you. I don't think we could ever put together what could be said to achieve that. So again, half of the questions don't need to be answered, and it's what makes the episode brilliant. But then you have a whole lot of other questions that you do need answers to, and it, in my opinion, ruins the episode because you're going out of your way not to answer them. So I'm left with, as I've said, frustrated. Just frustrated with 73 yards. And I don't want to be. I loved it until the end. I shouldn't feel like that. I'm very just disappointed that the end of the story just ruined my enjoyment of like the rest of it. But what would I know? I'm maybe just a madman. But that is it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. What are your thoughts on 73 yards? It's an episode that is primarily like widely positively received. Like a lot of people love this episode. It just, for me, it's like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I can see why people would love this episode. I loved it until the end. That's just my problem with 73 yards. It is literally it is almost a near perfect episode. If it wasn't for the fact that it just pushes the ambiguity too far. It goes too heavy on it. And this is coming from someone that loves Twin Peaks, that loves Alan Wake, where they love to do ambiguity up the wazoo. This is coming from someone like me. That is it. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I've been doing these kind of like retrospective videos, so I plan to do some more, hopefully a bit more positive. I've been trying to be less mixed and negative. I want to do some positive stuff as well. Now, I say that, but then I don't. So I don't know. Am I a hypocrite? Am I just embracing the mad in Mad Men? I don't know. Am I going crazy? Who knows? I'm a madman. But thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Ciao.